Hi guys, what's up? So this is going to be part 2 of my travel stories of how I got into traveling, and part 2 of Hawaii, what ended up happening after jumping ship, finding a place to live, no food, no bed. I think I left off on Thanksgiving, right? And yeah, so after that point, like I said, I had gotten a job initially, and I was working at a Japanese restaurant there, and it was a brand new restaurant, so they weren't even open. Like, I was helping them, get ready to open the restaurant, and it was right in the middle of Waikiki, so it really should have been a good area. And yeah, so we're getting ready to open. We actually opened the restaurant, and then surprise, it's not that busy. And so maybe it's because it's a brand new area, like a brand new restaurant, and it was on the basement floor of this big building, right? And I forget the name of it now. It's on the basement floor, and this whole area was renovated, and it was being converted into like a Japanese style, bunch of different Japanese style cuisines, restaurants, bars, boba tea, stuff like that. And so that's where I was working, and the opening was okay, but it wasn't as busy as they thought it would be. And so at this point, I'm like, man, I don't really even like this job. It's going all right, but it's not, it's not my calling for sure. And then so I start looking up online, different jobs, different things to do. And at this point in my life, I'm super passionate about photography. So I'm like, all right, I need to look up photography jobs here in Hawaii. And so I ended up finding one, and it was, I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but it was based in the Sheraton Hotel right there in Waikiki. And this property is beautiful. And so I end up going to the interview, and I actually end up getting the job, and I'm super surprised. I'm like, man, this is amazing. This is what I'm passionate about doing anyway. So heck yeah, I'm pumped. I'm here in, Hawaii. I get to do something that I finally enjoy. And it's smooth sailing from here on out, right? So that was my mindset. And to a degree, for the first, first month of that job, it was like, oh man, this is so awesome, so cool. I was really enjoying it. And I remember, so most of the clientele that would come there was honeymooners. And at that, usually they were Japanese descent. And this is my first real cultural experience with Japanese people, because where I'm from in the Southwest, there's not too many Japanese people, right? So I don't know anything about their culture, but I'm like, hey, this is super awesome. Like, I get to work with them, take their honeymoon pictures. So come to find out, Japanese people are very modest. Like, they don't really like to show affection in public at all. So getting them to hug, getting them to kiss, man, that was a challenge on its own. So I really had to jump through some hoops and learn how to work with people and become more of a people person. And at that, a lot of the Japanese tourists that came there was some of them that spoke English, and then the other half, man, their English was very, very limited, and my Japanese was very little, very small. I learned one phrase, Nihongo skoshi, and it means little Japanese. That's pretty much the extent of my language of Japanese, or my knowledge of the Japanese language, and their extent of the English language the majority of the time was little English. And so, we had to really work with each other and read each other and make each other laugh and smile. And then you're dealing with this plus the cultural difference of, you want to take these cool pictures, but there's a big cultural difference to where things are not normal for them to just show emotion and hug and kiss and, be this way with each other. So that was challenging in its own. And then I remember every day they had one person from the photography studio would go out to the pool with a GoPro or something, I don't remember. And he pretty much had to cold approach people and take their pictures and get them to come in and come buy the pictures. And that was not for me. I'm not a cold approach person, or I wasn't at this point in my life, especially with sales. I was terrible at this. So I just remember sitting there so awkwardly in this, it was a beautiful infinity pool and overlooks the ocean, and you're out there during sunset time, and it was beautiful and bright, right? But I was such an awkward person with this, and I I don't know, I just felt so uncomfortable going up to people and saying, can I take your picture? Oh, by the way, I'm gonna go sell it over here. Come back over here, you know? Like, that was very cringy to me. And looking back on it, it still is. After doing that for a couple of weeks, I said, I don't think this job is gonna go too well. So I actually stopped showing up to that job. Another example of what not to do. I should have definitely put in a 2 weeks notice, or like, you know, left on admirable terms, but I just kind of stopped showing up one day. And at this point, so I forgot to mention, at this point, I already had gotten another job, because I'd quit the Japanese restaurant job and I put all my eggs in this basket, right? And then at this point I was still like, okay, well, what else is out there? So I started looking up other jobs, right? And I got the opportunity to help open up a brewery in Hawaii. And beer was something I'd always liked. And plus, working at a brewery, like in a bar environment, seemed super cool to me. So I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. So I ended up getting the job at the brewery at this point, and I knew that. And I had helped them open as well. And then they finally opened. And then when this brewery opened, man, it was busy every night. Like, it was in a really good spot of the city. It was mainly a lot of locals, mainly locals that were living there, not too many tourists. It was in Kaka'ako, which is like it was an up and coming area when I was there. I'm sure it's a lot nicer now. It was nice then, but it was they were still, you know, investing into it. And I haven't been back in that area in a couple years. So I haven't been to Hawaii in a couple years. So I would like to go back there and see what it is now. But anyhow, get this job in this brewery. And from day one, I was making like, you know, like a third of what I was making at the photography studio working a week, you know, and that was just, you know, one night in tips. I was like, dang, okay, like I'm making better money. I'm doing something that's actually a little more, to me, it was more enjoyable, because I gotta, you know, sit down and chat with drunk people essentially. And yeah, so I was at the photography studio one day, and I had left, and I just never came back, and never bothered to say I'm not going to come back in or I'm going to quit. So that was a mistake, a learning lesson on my end. But yeah, I ended up leaving that job, and then I started working at the brewery. And at this point in time, it had been like a month, maybe 2 months into living on land there. I got enough money to buy an air mattress, so I bought an air mattress. And I finally took all those clothes and put them where they were supposed to be, all organized in my closet, and I was so excited about this. And during this time too, this was a time when we were very sparse on money, right? So up until this point to when I was working at that brewery, still like scraping pennies, like, yeah, I'm doing better, but I'm not, like, you know, I still have no means. And we had 2 other acquaintances that we had talked to on the ship, that we were going to jump ship and we were going to try to make it work here on land in Honolulu, and we had told them about this plan, and so they were on board, but they wanted to see us do it first, I guess, or they wanted to give themselves a little more timing for their money, whatever the situation was, right? So these 2 guys come to live with us. So the other 2 roommates don't want them in their room, and well, they're guys, so obviously they don't want them in the room for the first place. Secondly, they just don't want them in the room. So my room was the biggest room in the house, actually, or maybe the second biggest, I don't remember, but it was a good size. And so one of the guys actually ended up living with me in that room, and the other guy lived downstairs in the living room. He was there in the living room, all right? We did this for about a month, maybe 2 months. And things just got too hectic. So the guy living with me, I'm not going to say his name, won't throw him under the bus. I doubt he even watches these videos. It's been so long since I've talked to this guy. He was one of the strangest guys I've ever met in my life, right? And I don't say that to be mean, but this guy was really strange, just mentally. he was there, but he was, I don't know. And he had, which, you know, whatever, like, I'm dealing with that. You're you, I'm me. We don't need to be best of friends, but we're going to live together, work it out. But man, one thing that was like just gross, this guy shed. Like, he shed like a dog every day. Every day you'd walk into the room and there would be like hair all over the freaking place. And then you would go, like, we shared the same bathroom. Man, and that was so gross, man. He would just leave all his hair there, like at least wash it out. You know, the minimum you could do is just, if you're gonna do that, get rid of it. Wouldn't do that. He never did that. And he was bald. He was like bald up top too, and so the hair wasn't coming from there. It was coming from all over his body. So that, you know, ugh. I still get like, yeah, not the best roommate to live with, you know. And so he kept doing that, and like eventually I had my breaking point. That plus like he was just a strange guy, so we didn't really hang out. Like I wasn't like, hey buddy, let's go get a beer. No, it was like, you're my roommate. We're sleeping together. We're here together. This is that, and let's make these things of ours work out, you know. And then the other guy, the other guy was a character himself, because he would tell white lies, I think just to see how much he could get away with. I don't even know why or for what. But you know, whatever, your little white lies, go ahead, do that, you know, be you. But there wasn't an issue up until one night where this guy was belligerently drunk, I guess. I don't know. I was upstairs asleep, but so the door was right here, and then we had a window to the apartment that was like right next to it. And you know, if the window was open, technically you could kind of reach in and unlock the front door, right? This guy didn't have a key, or he forgot the key that night because we gave him one when he was going to go out. I don't know what happened. Anyhow, the next morning, we all wake up and whatever, go about our business like normal. We come back that night and we see that the window to the apartment is like broken, and you know, everybody else had keys and everybody else was in the house at this point except for this guy. So we knew it could only be this one guy. I don't know, I haven't talked to him in a couple years, but throughout the entire time of staying there, he denied that he broke that window and that he opened that door. Nobody else could have done it except for him, unless there was somebody wanted to break into the apartment and just take nothing. I mean, granted, we didn't have much, but we still had like a TV in the living room, still had like a sofa, stuff that they could have taken. Nobody else, you know, it's kind of strange for somebody to break in and then not take anything. So we know he was the guy that broke in and just denies, whatever. Like a week or two goes by, and then like he kept pissing off one of my other roommate, and so finally we sat him down. We're like, man, you gotta go. Like, yeah, it's great saving all this money, but you gotta go. You're gonna end up getting us in more trouble than it's worth, you know. So he ends up going, and then around this point, I talked to the other roommate that was living with me. I'm like, man, you gotta go as well. Like, I'm getting real sick and tired of this. I can't live with you. Essentially, I can't be in the same room with you, you know? And so like 2 weeks later, he figures out his plan, and then he's gone too. And so at this point, we were saving money like that, so I was able to save up a little bit of money by the scraping, like by the skin of my teeth, essentially. Like, I had a little bit of money from those jobs that I was working, up into the point to when I got the job at the brewery, right? And then I started making decent money. Still, like, I wasn't bartending. I think I was serving there, or not even serving, like a food runner essentially. But I was making like better money than anywhere else. And then around this time, I got an opportunity to work. So randomly, I'm like, it's 2-3 blocks from where I live, from this apartment. I see the New Mexico sign, which, if you don't know, it's like a Zia symbol. I'll put that up for you guys to see. But yeah, I see this big Zia sign in a window, and it says New Mexican food. And I'm like, no freaking way. Like, what are the odds? And so actually, the other guy, the one that broke into the apartment, he was from New Mexico as well, or from El Paso or Las Cruces. I don't remember. Anyhow, really close. And it's like, we were both walking one night. We're drunk. We're like, oh man, that's super cool. So we go back the next day, and then we get the food, and it's really good. And so we go back, like, I don't know, a couple days later, and then the owner of the place is there, and he pretty much offers me a job on the spot. He's like, you're from New Mexico? No way. Like, oh cool, what are you doing here? You know, we start talking, and then he's like, oh, you need a job? And at this point, I'm like, I'm working at the brewery and I'm making good money. I'm like, no, I don't, but you know, like, let me think about it. So I don't know, I wait a day or two, and then I actually give him a call. I'm like, well, you know, why not? I'm not doing anything else with my time out here. Why not? It seems cool. So at that point, I was working those 2 jobs. So I was only working, I don't remember, I think it was 4 days a week from Thursday through Sunday. And then I had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off. I mean, from Thursday through Sunday though, like keep in mind, my idea of working was on the cruise ship, and that was 7 days a week, sun up to sundown from 6 a.m. up until 12 p.m. at night, you know, something give or take more or less. And so I'm like, okay, I can make this work. You know, I'm gonna make all my money in these 4 days and then have 3 days off every week and go travel and do whatever. So that's when my life really started like improving there in Hawaii. Like I started making decent money from the both jobs, making good tips at both places. So I was actually able to, you know, go out and go to a nice restaurant, go to a beautiful beach on the other side of town, order an Uber, you know, do whatever I wanted, well, within my means, you know. I wasn't making that much money, but I was making a lot better money than before, which was nothing, right? And so at that point, I really started to enjoy Hawaii. I really got to see, and then of course, you know, you stay there after a bit of time, you're gonna make friends, you're gonna start talking to people. So I started making friends. So that really helped out. And then I was able to go explore pretty much all of the island of Oahu, which to this day I still love it so much. It's so beautiful. It really is a concrete jungle, and it is super crowded, but it was still magical. Especially because that was my first time in my life that I had seen, you know, tropical blue water, that I had really been next to the ocean, and it was like so breathtaking. And I got an opportunity to go cage diving with sharks, and I remember being so nervous, so scared. And you know, we wake up at like 6, 7 in the morning to go cage diving with sharks. You got to drive all the way to the north shore of the island. In Honolulu, from the north shore is like it's a good drive. So we go eat breakfast. I'm over there, I can barely eat my breakfast. I'm like, man, I'm so nervous, so nervous. We get in the boat. We go all the way out, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes on the boat. And I'm really nervous. And then at this point, you can see the big old sharks, like 12-foot sharks swimming underneath the boat. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like, what am I doing? This is not for me, not for me. And then you look down and you don't see the bottom of the ocean either, right? It just turns from blue to black. And you're like, oh, that's pretty far down, right? So anyhow, it was me and my roommate, and then a couple of her friends. She was my really good friend, and yeah, we actually ended up getting in the cage. The whole time I'm nervous, and then we get in the cage, and then they like they tether the cage so that way it's away from the boat, but it's still hanging on. And there's buoys on top of the cage so that way it's floating. If you've never been, and yeah, we're in the cage, and above water, the water's like this. It's like taller than your head. It's the waves are a good 4 or 5 feet, you know. But once you're under the water, man, all the anxiety that I had completely dissipated. It went away, and it was just so beautiful watching all these sharks. And there was a lot of them. I'll see if I can find some video, put that up for you guys to see. And there was a lot of sharks, and man, I don't know, it was just so peaceful. One of the most peaceful things I've ever experienced in life. And it's funny because I was so afraid, so nervous, like the sharks. But no, it was one of the most majestic, beautiful experiences I've ever had in my life. So that was like when I really started enjoying Hawaii. And then plus all the tropical beaches I went to. I'll never forget this one night. I was actually doing a photo shoot. Because like I said, I love photography at this point in my life, and then I had reached out to this girl, or she reached out to me, don't remember. Anyhow, I had made a friend at this point that I worked with at the bar, and so he went to go pick all of us up. We did the photo shoot, and then he had his friend, girlfriend, I don't know, whatever she was. We were all hanging out right after the photo shoot. We all go to eat, and then in Hawaii, or on Oahu, if you go to the windward side, there's a beach called Lanikai, and it's always, you know, one of the top 10 most beautiful. It's always voted usually in the top 10 most beautiful beaches in the world. It's just clear white sands, turquoise water, and the sun always makes it look so beautiful. And then you have the mountains over there, right? It's just gorgeous. And so we go over there, watch. I don't remember if we watched sunset from there, but we go over there, and it's nighttime. Like it's dark over there, but you can see all the stars and the moon, and then the ocean's right there. So we We all get out of his car. We go walk to the beach. And I'll never forget this night, man. It was one of the most magical nights of my life, right? So we have this bottle of, I don't remember, rum or whiskey, whatever it is. We're all drinking, having a good night. We get our bathing suits on. We go in the water. The water is like bath temperature, like 80 degrees. Perfect, right? It's nighttime and it's see-through water, like where we're standing, so it's so beautiful. And then you have the moon, you have all the stars, and then there's a bunch of like little boats that are pretty much just parked on the beach, like they're in the sand, so the water can't get to them. And then nobody's there watching them, so like we're all hanging out in these boats, just a bunch of drunk kids in their early 20s just hanging out in these boats, looking at the stars, watching the moon. Man, that was, and then, you know, like this, it was just one of the most magical things. Yeah, if you guys ever get the chance to, highly recommend going to any tropical beach, but especially if you're in Hawaii, go to Lanikai Beach. One of the most beautiful beaches still to this day that I've ever seen, and go there especially at nighttime if you can. Just absolutely beautiful. You won't regret it. Bring a little something to drink, bring somebody fun, and man, just enjoy it, because that was, to this day, I still get nostalgia. I'm sure you could see my face. Yeah, but that was also like a huge highlight of my time there, you know. And yeah, so all in all, that's my, you know, first-hand experience with traveling. So the first time I did it was more of like a work travel situation. So that's how I was able to manage that. Is that for everybody? I don't know. Look into the options. If you guys want to know more about cruise ships as well, let me know. I'll make like more videos about you know, how you can work on a cruise ship. Do I recommend it? If you have no money and you want to stack up money, you know, relatively quickly within a 5-month time span, possibly it could be for you. It depends. There's different jobs on the cruise ships too, to where certain things are more enjoyable than others, for sure. So yeah, if you want, I'll bring on other people who've worked on cruise ships, and you get their experiences, and maybe other people have had more enjoyable experiences than I did. But I know for me, it was not that enjoyable. But that gave me my freedom, my opportunity to go travel and see what else was out there. And so yeah, I was working on the cruise ship 2 or 3 months, right? I was able to live in Hawaii for, I think when I was on land, I was there 9 months, almost 9 months, right? And I had some, you know, circumstances in life to where I had to come back home for family. Other than that, I think I would have stayed out there, but hey, that's life, right? So I had circumstances in life to where I had to come back home, and it just did not feel like I had the opportunity to go back to Hawaii. It just did not feel right to me at that time to go back, seeing what my family was going through. So I chose not to go back to Hawaii, and you know, I don't regret it, but I do, like, there's parts of me that wonder what would have happened if you went back to Hawaii. I don't know. But that was a huge learning and growing chapter for me. When I first originally left Hawaii, up until, you know, the time that I had to leave, and this was the longest duration of time that I had ever spent away from my family as well. So, you know, 10, 11 months gone by without seeing my family, and me and my family are you know, we're pretty close, and you know, it's like every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every New Year, we're kind of all together for our birthdays, for the 4th of July. It's like we do stuff together, you know. And so this was the first time that I was away for all of that, and that was that was challenging the first time around, you know. Now I've done it, and I don't want to brag, because that's not like good. You're away from family, like it is what it is. But sometimes when you're traveling, you do miss certain events in life, and you got to keep that in mind. But the first time is always usually the toughest. So that was the toughest for me. And then, you know, especially if you don't have good people around you, you got to make wonderful friends. That's the secret to travel. I don't care where you go. You can go to the most exotic, beautiful beaches. You could go to the highest mountains. If you're there alone, man, that's lonely. That's lonely. I've done that. I've been there, you know. And so the secret really to I don't care where you go in the world, you got to make wonderful friends. That's really the secret sauce. And that's been proven to me time in and time out. So yeah, that was my first experience with traveling. And let me know if you guys have any questions. If you want to know anything else about Hawaii, I'll tell you to the best of my knowledge. So yeah, with that, working on the cruise ship, I was also able to go to the 4 main islands. It's the most populated islands: Big Island, Maui, Oahu, and Kauai. So those are like the 4 main islands that people usually go vacation to, or people are living at. You know, Kauai, I would say, is definitely the most quiet of those 4. Big Island, it depends where you're at. It could be quiet as well, but usually a little more people. And then Maui, to me, was the perfect balance of city life plus what you think of when you think of Hawaii. You want to go to the beautiful tropical beaches, not too much noise, kind of untouched landscapes and areas, but there's like enough of a city life to where if you want to go out one night, you can find a spot. Honolulu, like Oahu, it's a concrete jungle. It really is. So just be prepared if you do go there. Like you'll find a party in and out of the week. There's always stuff going on there. I don't. Maybe it does take away from the nature a bit. It's kind of hard to argue that. At the same time, it's cool and it brings its own energy and its own vibe there. But just be expecting that if you do go to Oahu, you know. I always joke about this and say, like, friends, if I had the chance to do it over again, I think I definitely would have went to Maui, because that was more my balance. Hawaii was, or Oahu was like, it wasn't like a fast city per se, but it was a bigger city, so there's more stuff going on, which is not how I envisioned Hawaii. When I first got there, now I know, and now I know, I'll say that. But yeah, guys, thank you again for watching this video. I'm trying to bring out more content to you guys. So let me know if you guys are interested in anything. I'm going to be bringing up different vlog style different topics up until I can get back on these vlogs again. So it's going to be a while before I start traveling again. Not sure entirely. Sometime early next year. I'm thinking February or March time. So I'll see you guys then. Well, so I'm gonna make videos, and then I'll see you guys for the next video. And then yeah, we're on a mission to get me to go travel more. So shoots, guys.